my name is Dajana Bjelajac, as Kelly already said. I'm an assistant professor at the Faculty of Sciences in Novi Sad, but for this story, the most important part is the non-governmental organization Carpe Noctem. And this is the organization that was kind of an effort of our professors and students at Faculty of Sciences, and we started it as an idea to start talking about light pollution, and it's developed into something much more. We didn't even know that this is going to be. And actually, my PhD thesis had to do with light pollution and urbanization processes, and I used some of the research of the data that we collected through the NGO. But let me start with the lecture and turn off my video to be for the better Wi-Fi connection. So, as always, I don't like to talk in those specific bullets, you know, you can do this, you can do that. I like to talk using stories and images as much as possible. So I will just kind of share with you all the ideas that we had in order to get people to care about the dark sky. So this will be my TED moment. You know, all great TED Talks start with, let me tell you a story moment. So for anyone that is from Balkan region and understands Balkan languages, they will probably know what it says here. But for you that don't, this is an article about 5 or 6 years ago that was the first article about light pollution in Serbia and our organization. And it says the group of young people that are fighting against light pollution in Serbia. So you can see we were not really rock stars of Facebook at that point. We had like 10 likes. But what is the most important of all, you can see that censored parts. You can imagine what that means. One guy said that he finally found out the thing that he doesn't care about at all, of all the things that he doesn't care about. So this is not really a promising start. But it was funny for me, and I kind of knew that this is an important moment to screenshot that, because I knew that light pollution will unfortunately be the problem of this century we are living in, and that everyone will face some form of light pollution one way or another. So 5 years fast forward, I'm using this screenshot as a perfect start to my story, because we didn't had much going on at that point in time. We didn't have any kind of literature or any kind of a source, or either scientific or anyway, in any way, a source of about light pollution in Serbian. So that's when we started making it, either through literature or through kind of events. So how did we manage to get our citizens to look up at the stars, even though they did not know what light pollution is or why they should care about the dark skies or anything? So we decided to make it fun. We decided to make darkness as a some kind of a comfortable area where they can be in, and so they can be prepared and easily, let's say, convinced that darkness is essential to our life. And then we use some kind of a funny word for it. This says osvesti se. This means like become aware. And then we added zvezda, which means star. And then we combined it into ozvezdi se. That means something like star yourself up. Sounds like Madonna song or something like that. But it's funny in Serbian, and we have badges like that. So we are using them to kickstart the conversation about light pollution. And I'm, since I'm a child of 90s, I like memes, and I'm a millennial, so I will probably use memes for some of my chapters. So we decided to turn science and talk about light pollution in some form of a stage and performance everywhere we went to. So this is our first workshop that we did. It's in a really bright and big area, and then we had to close ourselves into some other room and to make darkness available. So we had some kind of posters and everything, but this is this is a really not that successful model of streets and buildings, but it was really fun to make it, and also kids really loved it. And we had so many topics to talk about with them that we decided to do one more round of that, and then we became constructor builders and made a real street with full cut-off street lights and non-cut-off street lights. And we used that kind of a model in one big shopping center called Big. So, and then when you see those kind of boxes and people are kind of crouching there and kids are putting their heads inside, it's just so interesting for them that they decide that, I mean, there are, I think, more than 5,000 visitors at that night that were joining us. So I think every kid at least once put their head inside of that box because it was so interesting. And you can see that this is quite a modest representation of what we wanted to say. And yeah, that was really fun. And the other happening or the other event that we made, it is a kind of a lecture that we provided every school with that we went to. It's from north to south of Serbia. I mean, from city called Subotica to Vranje, and it is like a really, really long distance, and not only north to south, but also west to east. And I think we managed to go into every bigger city of Serbia to provide them with the lecture. And of course, we did that by daytime. So you can imagine how kids were delighted that we are crashing their classrooms, making it dark and providing them with lectures. So these are my colleagues that also did all of that stuff together with us. So yeah, this is also fun, and kids really remembered that, you know, and they started talking about light pollution more in schools. So yeah, these were schools, scientific fairs, researchers' night. But what about common citizens, you know, those people that you just meet on the street? So we decided to make some kind of ecological candles. It sounds counterintuitive to make candles in order to fight darkness, but it's actually quite a good idea because they were made of soy wax and they have really small, pleasant light, and it's much better to use them than some aggressive light bulbs in the nighttime hours. And we used, of course, recycled jars and picked up stuff from the forest and everything. So when you went to our stand, and this is unfortunately the picture in the middle is in July with more than 40 degrees outside. So we had, I think, third-degree burns after this, but there were so many people coming up and asking what that word ozvezdise means and why are we selling those candles. And then we went to night bazaars as well. Bazaar is kind of a market that we have for do-it-yourself stuff every other month. So this is one part of our team. And then when we sell those candles, we would take it as a donation for our events and similar stuff to that. And then we would give them badges and we would give them brochures. And then, of course, we will provide them with possibility to become our members and to go to our hikes and everything. So this is one more idea, let's say it like that, to approach just the common people on the street to talk about light pollution, even though at that time we already were all working somewhere and had our fair share of obligations. We really enjoyed that. You can see it in the image. Of course, there were also all sorts of camps, ecological astro camps. You can see here we are having a lecture and it's raining like hell outside. So that didn't stop us. It even made lecture much more interesting for kids. And this is another astro camp at some other mountain where we talked about light pollution. This on the left side is actually a musical presentation. We used pop songs from not only Balkan region, but also some, let's say, English pop songs that use the darkness and light as a motive and inspiration to sing about. And then we slowly started explaining light pollution. You can see that my paint or Photoshop skills are intentionally bad, so I can make them laugh and they can, you know, receive that knowledge much more with much more open-minded attitude. So this is also one of the 1,000 camps that we went to, but this is a special one because we went to the city of Prokuplje. This is a city in the southern parts of Serbia, and this is the only part of Serbia where our astronomy observatory has astronomy station, where they done and all the research. And for the last 2 years, there is a group of us working towards getting DarkSky Park title for that area, because we wanted to preserve it, of course. I mean, it's a big job for every one of us, but you can see how many local kids and people that never visited observatory that is like 10 kilometers from them, we call them to come, and we call them to show them how the dark skies can be a perfect opportunity, not only to enjoy, to learn something more, but also to promote it as a part of astronomy tourism and to bring back people to those rural areas that are unfortunately getting more and more deserted. So that's why it is an important community story, because this is the first time we had not only kids, but also elderlies and all sorts of generations and people that were actually really happy to come to a part where they've never been before. Also, when you are just starting, you don't have that much funds to do stuff you want to do. So at one point, we didn't have any funds to take people to some darker areas to watch meteor showers. So we decided to use some kind of a metaphor for that, and we took them to the undergrounds of Petrovaradin fortress. We have a fortress in Novi Sad that was built quite a long time ago, in 18th century. So there is a quite a big underground there, tunnels and everything. So we decided to take around more than 150 people through the tunnels. Yeah, so we were in a basement because we were searching for darkness, you know, we cannot find darkness in the city, and people were really excited to go in the undergrounds during the night, because during the day you can see some form of a daylight, but during the night, nothing. And I was a bit nervous, and probably the participants as well, even though we had great guides, but they had only candles because we wanted them, you know, to have a bit of adventure. So even though some people didn't necessarily came to our event to learn about light pollution, they certainly got out of it knowing about light pollution, because you know, why would you go into the underground during the night for no other reason than to, you know, search for darkness? So this was really nice, but one of the biggest things that we did and that combined our community really together were astro hikes. And this is like my reality and of my colleagues as well. Every night before the astro hike, we are so happy, you know, okay, we have 100 participants, we have 200, 300, we need to close applications and everything, so we are excited. And then, of course, we get scared, because that's a lot of people that we were taking in the woods during the nights for the 10 kilometers across our national park, and we had telescopes in the middle or at the end of the hike. So we took kids, we took elderlies, we took everyone that wanted to come with us. So this is our first hike, which is really important, because we thought that we are gonna have like 20 or 30 people coming with us, because no one ever heard of us before. And we thought, like, who's gonna go into the forest to hike 10 kilometers with complete strangers? And we really didn't know our public that well, because more than 200 people showed up. So this is a picture you saw before, and this is a perfect moment, because these were the last people that were coming into the woods, and you can see the beautiful sunset on the east, and on the west you can see completely dark forest. And we actually took a picture because people, when we entered the forest, they just stopped talking. You know, we haven't even said to them that they need to be, you know, silent because of the animals or anything. They just stopped talking because they were afraid. And of course, after a few minutes, they were kind of got relaxed and everything, and they started talking. But it was unimaginable to me that a group of 200 people just decided collectively to start whispering and to be quiet, just because they changed their surrounding. So that astro hikes are adventures that actually combine people together, because it's much more different when you go by day. You get, you know, you see a tree, you see a bug, you see a nice flower, but during the night you can see a different forest around you. You know, it's not the same forest as during the day, and you need to lean on the person in front of you to let you know if there is a some kind of a hole, or there is a tree or something like that, and you need to be a helpful guide to the person behind you. And even though we are all strangers, we have that kind of collective feeling of heading into the adventure that we need to go outside from together. And of course, after every dead hike, we have some kind of lecture or telescopes, and this is one of the lectures on the great coffee shop that always provide us with the equipment to gather people around. And I put this picture here because I think it's one of the most wonderful representations of the community, because all of these people I didn't know before we started, before we organized Carpe Noctem. I mean, there is an astronomer, there is a physicist, there is a biologist, there is my colleague from the geography, and this is like, after 2 or 3 years of working together towards the same goal, it's like having an old friend, even though we maybe haven't met like 3 months before that astro hike. It's always a shared common feeling of having the same goal to, you know, talk about light pollution and protecting the night sky. Of course, the astro hikes are only one part. We then decided to get it up a level. So we have telescopes, we have hikes, we have music and dancing, and then we had a Star Triathlon Festival. This is a festival in that same coffee shop that is based on some ecological ideas and sustainable development. And they provide us with all sorts of setting. This is a kind of, after a short, small hike in the nights, in the forest during the night, we have a kind of campfire with scientists. So this is our famous astronomer that talks about astronomy and all sorts of stuff related to that and to dark skies. And on the other campfires, we had biologists, we had psychologists that talk about the darkness and the importance of it. So of course there were telescopes and there was music, because we wanted people to feel comfortable in darkness. So this is a kind of a jazz band that provided us with nice ambience. And this is a Afro Rumba dance near the fire, and this is actually a dance with the fire. So these are all kind of artistic expressions that had to do with darkness and with light, of course, the interaction of darkness and light, that we wanted to show people that they could really feel comfortable in darkness, and that we can talk about science, we can talk about art, and we can listen to really good music. This is some kind of street performance that we actually asked to perform for us. So at the end, I mean, there are a lot of stories that I would like to share, but this is some of the most important ones. And of course, when you dive into this kind of events and stuff to do, you need to develop all sorts of skills, you know, to go through. I never thought I'm gonna be event planner or marketer, or of course, dive into the public assembly law, how many people you can gather on one surface, and how you can, you know, let the police know that, and how can you budget, do a management over your budget, which you don't have, but you kind of, after a few events, after several activities, you get funded by the Center of Science Promotion. The Ministry of Science also decided to fund some of our activities. We learned how to do PR. We learned how to have a lot of patience to do all sorts of stuff, risk management, communicational skills, all sorts of stuff that we needed to do with the least possible resources in order to get to everything we have today. So today, I mean, these are combined efforts. Of course, there is a Ministry of Science and people that are together with my scientific community there that talk about light pollution as well. But we also made a documentary movie that will be open to public really soon. We had more than 100 lectures. We had so many media reports. I mean, we lost count of it. So we have several initiatives for DarkSky parks on Videjevica, Rajac, Jastrebac, as far as I know. We also have 2 research projects that are focused on light pollution. One of the projects are about urbanization and light pollution in Belgrade with Astronomy Observatory in Belgrade, and the other one is about some type of frogs. Don't mind me, I'm a geographer, not a biologist, but people from the Institute of Biology do all sort of cool stuff related to light pollution and frogs. We also have several astronomy societies and people that just kind of got the information somewhere about the light pollution, about the darkness, and decided that they want to talk about it more and more. So we, of course, have some kind of discussions that are leading to law against light pollution. And of course, there are several research teams, as I said before. But of course, Osvedis did some of that stuff. And I think that we contributed a lot to all of that kind of results we have. And this is some kind of several most important things you can do to make your community solid and to make them care about the dark skies. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to finish with a story. And I don't know how many of you remember that bookmarker from the night sky. I think it's from the 2016 or 2017. And I got it when I first applied for the DarkSky International. It was International DarkSky Association at that point. And it was this one. And I didn't know. I have a story for the end because I brought this with my book to read at this trip I'm on to. And when I saw that, while I was preparing my lecture for tonight, I was like, this is a perfect point to make. I mean, it was really important for me that I had such a great leadership and support from the IDA back then and DarkSky International today, that I even kept that bookmarker that's old, like, I don't know, 7 years. And I was really proud to be a part of that community, because at that point, when I made my application to International DarkSky Association, nobody else cared about that in Serbia that I know of. Of course, there were other people, but I was alone in that. And I got that kind of bookmarker and the Nightscape edition to my address in Serbia. And I was like, I'm in love with this, and this will be my story, you know. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything else. I'm just too happy to have that to share with you and to finish it up like this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dajana. That was so inspiring and insightful. And I connected with the memes. I love the memes. So good. Oh my gosh. Well, now is our time for Q&A. If you have any questions that you weren't able to pop in the chat while Dajana was speaking, please do so now. We do have a few questions already, so I'm going to go ahead and start asking those. All right, starting off. What's one piece of advice you'd give a dark sky advocate looking for a community or wanting to build one? Oh, I don't know why.
I don't know why I lost the permission. So yeah, I mean, first of all, for me, it was to find the information online. And of course, naturally, I got to the Dark Sky Association and then I searched through your website. I mean, there's no better way to see how to get it. I mean, I could talk about tools like use those email newsletters every month, keep people engaged, provide them with books, provide them with music, provide them with movies or all sorts of stuff. But most important is to find like a person, a friend. I had friends, like at least two of them were my closest one at one point, but then we broadened the network, and use your friends to talk about light pollution in interesting ways. So make some kind of public appearance, provide them with QR at least. I know we had like zero amount of money at the beginning for doing all of that, but people recognize that. And, you know, when you see someone melting on the 40 degrees selling candles to talk about light pollution, they're really dedicated to the cause. So that kind of stepping out of the comfort zone to show up and to talk about is the stuff that I would recommend for someone starting, and to outline at least the idea of what are your core values for your organizations. You know, we have some kind of a formula that says what are our values. Our values are not only dark skies and light pollution, but it's building the sense of community and safety to be around the people that you go into the woods with, and what kind of values in social and social values. I mean, not only scientific values.
Yeah,
I hope I said that correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I really touched on that part where you mentioned safety, you know, and also just core values. I think that's really important to, you know, just be genuine with your efforts. So yeah, you said that perfectly. Another question that we have from Rubaiyat is, can you please share the details on the ecological supernova hands-on activity so that I can try
Yeah.
here in Bangladesh for outreach sessions?
Yeah, we called it ecological supernova because it was the light pollution is, of course, ecological story, but supernova is kind of this is an outburst of a lot of knowledge at once, you know, about light pollution. That's why we called it like that. It does. I don't know if it makes sense in English, but in Serbian it does. So the project was to write a brochure that is really approachable to kids and to have all those pictures and everything. That's when we learned how to use Illustrator, Photoshop, and everything. We didn't know it by before that. So we made a brochure, and we had lectures in every city during the day in schools, and during the night in libraries and some kind of places of gathering for people that are outside of schools. And then we made some kind of let's say small workshops together with lectures for kids. And because we didn't have darkness at that point of time, we used their tables to make it, and then we used that kind of a tennis ball, you know, to put on a lamp, so we can show how it's really bright, and all sorts of, you know, playing with light with in a really cheap way to show kids how the light is not going up if you cut it to, you know, to fall directly to the surface and everything. So I think you don't need to work as hard to show them, I don't know how many information about light pollution. You just need to make it interesting so that they can, you know, go home and start searching themselves. So yeah, I think that's the thing that worked most with them. You know, we brought dark into the classroom. I mean, it's not something that they have to do every day in schools.
Yeah, honestly, I remember those days when, you know, guest lecturer would come in and then we wouldn't have to do homework or like learn a lesson. It was just fun. So yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Alejandro asked, have you been able to organize a science pint taking advantage of the summer? Question mark. Alejandro, I might need you to specify that one.
Is that, Alejandro, something that has to do with like taking a drink with a scientist and talk about it? If science pint, pint, or what?
Or pint? Yeah, I don't know. All right. Alejandro. Okay, perfect.
There is a
Okay.
website. It calls a pint of science. When you give a science talk in between a bar and discuss every topic, a science topic. In here, I have a similar name that is the Milky Beer, that basically do talks for adults in a more friendly environment, like a bar. And we discuss these topics because we, even that we speak of science, we doesn't have to need to get worried. So with a drink,
Yeah.
with a meal, and you can create
Yeah.
discussion groups inside a bar. And the science of
Yeah, we did.
science, a bit of
Sorry.
science, is a global movement.
Yeah, we did something similar. We had like a coffee with a scientist, and we had billboards in Serbia for Researchers' Night that had our pictures on it, and you could come and grab a coffee with us. So kids would come to that coffee shop, they would get a drink from the organizers, and I would just sit on the table and talk randomly about anything that interests them, about light pollution, about astronomy, or whatever. So that's one thing. And we also had like eye to eye with science, and I talked about light pollution, but that's the point, that the moment when I made that musical lecture, because it was in a place where we had really good rock gigs. So if we are having gigs there, you need to make it musical. So people were really, surprised with the selection of songs that I used for. We have one folk song in Serbia that says, the bird was singing, thinking it was dawn, but she never managed to get to the dawn, something like that. But it was beautiful, and it was so light pollution song. So yeah, we used that kind of a bar or something like that to talk about science as well. We are cool with that.
That's awesome. I really like that idea. It's more casual setting, so yeah, that's really cool. Another question we have is, how did you decide where you were going to raise awareness about dark skies in your community first?
I had a professor from Maribor. Some of you maybe know him. It's Igor Žiberna. He is from Slovenia, and he came to our faculty. I was, I think, bachelor student, the last year of bachelor studies, and I was volunteering for some summer school, and I randomly got into his classes for younger students, and I saw a light pollution map and their field work around Novi Sad, and I was like, my father raised me in Star Wars spirit, so I was like, how can I haven't seen this before, and it's right in front of your eyes, So that's when I kind of the fire ignited, and then I searched online, and I haven't found anything almost. And then I went to International DarkSky Association, and somehow everything fell into place, because when I enrolled PhD, I found a mentor that was willing to do a dark sky, a light pollution thesis. So yeah, it was bachelor studies and the right professor to do so.
Awesome. It always starts with school.
Yeah.
Next one, I think we've got, James Lowenthal asked, is the park usually closed to visitors at night? Did you need special permission from the park?
No, our national parks are never closed. You can enter whenever you want, but you need to have a permission for that amount of people. You need to have a permission from the police, and you need to have a permission from the national park, because you need to pay some kind of small fee for that. And the police needs to know that there are more than 200 people roaming around the forest, So yeah, we usually have all sorts of administrative things to do before we go to hike. And I saw that someone asked about how many people were controlling the group. It depends on the amount of people and on the difficulty of the trail, because some trails are long but not as difficult. They don't have that many places where you can go sideways. And let's say for one hike of 10 kilometers, we have maybe 10 people. But for one hike that is 5 kilometers, we have 20 people, because there is so many small pathways you can go wrong that we need to have that many people. And if you want a kind of tip how to organize a hike with the smallest possible number of people, we usually have two guides at the back that are collecting everyone, same as hiking during the day. The two guides on the back, and we have all of the other guides in front. So when we reach some pathway that is difficult and maybe unrecognizable for someone that is not in the forest, we just leave one guide there. And we have talkie-walkie that we managed to buy recently. So we just, let them know we put one guide there, just let us know when you pick him up. So at the end, everyone that went first is at the back of the trail, and we know that everyone is safe and got where they're supposed to be.
Awesome. Another question. Susan asked, you mentioned Find the Bear in your school project. What was that? Was that a reference to the constellations? And how do you talk about the stars without a telescope?
That was a reference to constellation, because I used Prezi for that lecture, and it was a cool feature that when you zoom out, all my bubbles were put in the position of a bear, of Ursa Major. And then at the end of lectures, I just, clicked, and then the dots and the lines were connected, We were searching for the great bear because he cannot be seen on the night sky because of all of that issues that were in those Prezi chapters. So yeah, when we talk about stars without telescopes, we use Stellarium, an app on the laptop or computer if there is too much clouds outside and something like that. I just had a lecture in the Natural Science History Museum, so we also did that because it was really cloudy. So we showed them this you should see, but this when we go outside, we'll probably not see it. So if we don't have the opportunity to use telescopes. But you can be really creative if you don't have telescopes. We had that difficulty at the beginning because, we didn't have enough resources. So we asked astronomical societies. They were really, really good and wanted to help us to reach out. But if we didn't have them, we would usually just take those green lasers and talk about the constellations, if we see them, and talk about the mythology behind it, or what is interesting about that constellation, or for Ursa Major, that star that has the middle star that has one more star, that Romans use it for sightseeing, and etc., etc. So we just use as much information as possible to make it more interesting.
Wow. That's really awesome. I love how resourceful you are when you create, these ways to talk about the stars, or bringing darkness into a room. Like, that's just fantastic. Another question that Jaskaran asked is, astronomers and artists often find comfort in the night. How do you help others see that darkness? See that darkness can be safe and beautiful, and even fall in love with it. You're doing amazing work.
Thanks. It was our idea from the beginning, because we wanted to take people to the night skies without them knowing that. We just made it super fun, super, artistic look of our social media and everything. And we were like, it will be awesome. We will talk about this and that. And can you imagine yourself in the dark, 10 kilometers through the woods? Some people even celebrated their birthdays with us because it seemed like a good adventure. So afterwards, everyone left with much more knowledge about light pollution than they thought they will, Some of them even didn't know why they were coming because their friends brought them with them. So, I mean, the venturing into the unknown is always a good thing to use for attracting more people that are outside of the astronomy circles.
For sure. I think I was just talking to a photographer the other day that was saying, more weddings should happen at night or something under the aurora borealis. And yeah, for sure. More activities, more nighttime activities. That'd be awesome. Another question that we had was, do you have a strategy in your dark sky advocacy that helps engage both the newer and more experienced generations?
I mean, we are quite young group, I would say. And what I also wanted to say, but I didn't have that much time, when you work purely on enthusiasm, you will probably get burned out at several occasions because, you have a job, regular job, you have obligations and everything. But when stuff like that happens, we like to go to Fruška Gora mountain. It's our national park, the closest one. And we just go on hike during the day with our people from the group. We don't do anything. We just hang around, That's how people that are new come to hike with us because they just want to go to the forest. And then we have some kind of a break and then drink coffee. I usually bring some treats or something like that. It doesn't have to do with astronomy at all, with light pollution at all. They're just feeling safe and invited to go anywhere with us. So the next time we are planning an event, they already know each other. They start, suggesting some ideas. And I'm quite, we're trying to be formal, but funny formal, because we are suggesting them to use music. We are nominating someone in our newsletter to suggest another movie for everyone to watch. So that's how we kind of attract youngers and older generations into the same group as much as we can. It comes down to people. I mean, you have to talk to everyone and to find the common language between those that are not talking and to suggest the topic. So, yeah.
I agree. I feel like that happens a lot where you get with someone new and you're like, what do we talk about? And then it's like silence. And then you got to kind of like chat up about random things. Speaking of energy and burnout, somebody asked, oh my gosh, let me pull up my question. Once you found a community that wanted to learn and do more to promote dark skies, how did you keep that energy going?
Well, when it comes to burnout and everything, you need to be honest. I mean, we are a small group compared to global ones such as DarkSky. So we have an opportunity to be more informal and honest about things. And I usually just write an email or my colleagues, and we say like, we are doing this and that, but we cannot do anything more than that because we are done. And if someone wants to help us, please do step in and stuff like that. We always invite them to take their part. I mean, I don't know how it's like. I know that when we listen to stories from American communities, you have much more developed sense of community than we have in Balkans, I would say, entire region, because every neighbor will do something for you, but that sense of community as a city is not something that is so developed as much as in America. So we use it. We use that kind of similar to astro hikes or to forest hikes, or to just to get around and talk about over coffee, to get people to just network and do all sorts of interesting stuff. And what was the main question? Sorry, Kelly.
Oh, pretty much just like, how do you keep that energy going once you've found like a community? Mm-hmm.
I just try to be consistent with providing them with the information. and use every opportunity to tell anecdotes from those events, from hangouts. You know, when we post a story about we want to go to hike to Fruška Gora, we write, okay, last time when we went there, somebody talked about this, somebody talked about that. It was like changing stations from documentary to documentary, because there were astronomers, there were IT people, there were like everyone. So we kind of always, you know, if we don't have an event, we just write to them, keeping them in loop that maybe we are not doing something now because we are tired, but something will happen and they need to preserve their strength for that. Just be honest. Like, we are all humans.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, for sure. Be honest. May asked, how do you handle transportation to the events? Does everyone provide their own transportation or do you carpool?
That's a whole other category of questions, because it depends on where we are going. We usually ask for a donation for Astro Hike. We asked for, I think it was $4 or euros per person, and not kids, only the older people. I mean, over 18. So we just ask for that donations. They put a donation on our account, and then we use that money to pay for the transportation from our public transportation buses. And depends on which part of the area are you and how far is that hike from what are you organizing. That's how we kind of make the smallest amount of donation possible in order to pay the transportation in advance. And of course, if someone is coming by car, we use all sorts of Google Maps or satellite views or anything to write them and to, you know, outline where they should park, because there's not so much place there. And we usually have people wearing those marker vests, so they can, you know, show them where to park. You know, when there is 300 people and let's say 100 is coming by car, it can be crowded. So I mean, you have to improvise a bit, but the preparation is half of the job done.
Right on. And then last but not least, one more question. James asked, how is Carpe Noctem organized? How much of the work is done just by you? Are there committees and officers? Are you good at delegating? And obviously, you're good at inspiring. So,
I mean, thanks, James. You always know how to ask right questions. Yeah, I mean, Carpe Noctem has a kind of a steering committee. You can actually search on, yeah, I think I erased all of the English versions of Carpe Noctem site, but I will put in Slack so you can find it when I translate it. We have like 11 members so far. I can show you. This is a great opportunity to show you how informal but formal we can be. If you can see a share, okay. So this is our website. And we also learned how to do a website. So yeah, a lot of skills learned here. And yeah, we have a steering committee that consists of a variety of people that are.
we can see it now. Sorry. Oh.
Ah, okay. I just left because I thought the Wi-Fi is bad. Never mind. We have a steering committee and we have a description of every member there. We have from all sorts of professions. They don't need to have a scientific background, even though we have a lot of people with scientific background, so we can have a true facts there when we work. But the most active and dedicated ones are the part of the steering committee, and it comes natural. Some of them decide to go after a while because they have other obligations, but they've done their share, a great job, and some other come into the committee. So it's been organic so far. And yeah, it's more than 10 people that are most active, but we have a community of 170 so far that applied to be a member. So we usually, just send out. We had 20 at the beginning, but now we have that much. Of course, they are not all active in the same way, but are active. And we have what is really good in the recent couple of months and year. What is happening is that much more astronomy societies are starting to talk about the issue of light pollution, and ecological societies are joining the story as well. And basically, they are not officers, but there are advocates in a way that we work with. So all of those stories about dark sky parks are none of our initiative, which I'm really happy about, because that means that locals wanted to have dark sky parks there. So we are just helping them to reach it. And as for delegating, I don't know. I like to think that I'm good. But sometimes when I think that everyone will have a same feeling about it, but when I'm late with stuff I need to deliver, I usually tend to do it myself than to push others to do fast, So I usually do a lot of stuff before I actually delegate it, but I have great people around me. So, I mean, they are really one of the most important reasons why we still have NGO after all the hardships, which are really nice, but sometimes it's hard. But they kept me going. Not only I'm not the only one working there. There are a lot of people working.
Awesome. And if you can pop the link to your site below, I think some advocates wanted to see it for sure. That was really insightful. That concludes our Q&A portion, and now we're going to break out in 2 rooms. I hope you guys are all able to. Oh, yes. Dajana?
Sorry, I forgot. I just want to announce there will be a scientific conference in November, which is a really big deal. We never had a scientific conference on light pollution in Serbia before, and it will be held by the same team that is working with the Institute of Biology, and I'm working with them. And there will be a lot of other researchers working with us, and it will be at the end of November. I will just pop in a questionnaire as a Google form if you want to receive additional info about it. It will be in Novi Sad, and we will organize some small astro hike for the participants, so you can enjoy Novi Sad at its fullest, and some other activities, and the other stuff related to the conference will be announced using that email if you provide it here, and it will be free of charge for participating. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I forgot about that. Sorry, Kelly.
No, you're great. I'm glad that you were able to ask. Perfect.